All right, good morning, everyone. Okay, Tov. I'm so glad we get to go back to learning today. Listen, hey, Tom. All right, Okay, good morning again. These parashiyos, when we're talking about the story of Pesach, and we're discussing what took place before we left Mitzrayim, so according to all this farm, is that we're not supposed to read it again in order to remember what happened. We're supposed to be reading it again to figure out how we can once and for all get out of our own Mitzrayim. Always. Every year it's like this. And especially, I feel like this year you could smell it. There's something, everyone feels like there's a chance. Some people in the States right now, everyone feels there's a chance for the opposite of what we're talking about. Somehow people sense there's some kind of a chance right now. There's some kind of an opening in the world. Not to put it on any specific individual, but that there's a chance. There's a chance to actually get out of Mitzrayim. And we need to understand what that means in order to make sure that we don't have to keep on coming back here. And you also remember that leaving Egypt was the worst galus that ever was. And the fact that we were able to be taken out of Mitzrayim gives us the ability to even think that we can be Bnei Chorim, that we can be, whatever that means, free people. Because the galus of the exile of Egypt was so thick, was so dark, and it was the darkest of the darkest. Remember, one more step of impurity, we were kaput, we were done. So the fact that we had once come out of Mitzrayim means that you and I have a chance to actually get out of our own Mitzrayim. And man, some of our Mitzrayims are so comfortable, it's unbelievable. Some of our Mitzrayims make so much sense. Some of our Egypts, they just make so much sense, and they're so legitimate too. And they're so right. But you could be right, you could be legitimate, you could be comfortable, and you could be nowhere close to where your neshama really wants to be, and where HaKadosh Baruch Hu would really love for you to be. So a few years ago, it must be now, 13, 14 years ago, my good buddy Danny married Bibi's daughter. You know my friend Danny, the drummer, Danny Roth. Danny used to play in the Moshav band. Anyway, Danny, my buddy Danny married, Bibi has a daughter from a first marriage, and she's Balas Tshuva, and they got married the week of Parshas Va'era. In Ramat Rachel. I was so bummed out. I had to work that night. I couldn't go to Bibi's daughter's wedding, but really to Danny's wedding, like my buddy Danny. And and what happened was that our friend Rav Shalom Brat came out up to Bibi and said to him, "Listen, I just want to tell you exactly what you have to do right now." And the bodyguards jumped on him. He said, "I want to tell you exactly what you should be doing right now." So he said, "He said, it's written mefurish in the parsha. Vehotzeti, vehitzalti, vega'alti, velakachti, veheveti. Right, the Dal Lashon Shel Geula, the four languages of redemption. So I just looked at him like, Toda Rabba. Thank you very much. But we have to, when we want to understand how we could ourselves get out of our own galut, our own exile, all these chevra, no one should get freaked out too much, too excited. The Donald's a pawn. Hillary was a pawn. Hussein was a pawn. They're all just pawns. They're all just puppets in this world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Al tiftechu bin divim ben adam l'shein l'tshua. Don't get too excited about anything. Just what a yid should get excited about is when he can see himself in the shlavim of exile. When he can see that there's one of the forms of the geula, of the redemption, that he has a shaychus, that he could find himself coming out a little bit of his own Mitzrayim. That's what you should get excited about. Don't get too excited about anything else. Not for good and not for bad. A Jew gets excited when he sees, I have a chance to actually get out of here. So we're going to be doing today a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. It's two small pieces. The first piece you see is from the Chidush Harim. That's the first Ger Rebbe. It's always very exciting to learn Chidush Harim. I always tell you, this is my great-great-great-great-grandfather directly, mamish from my mother's side, the Chidush Harim. This is the first Rebbe of Gur. You know, Rabbi Moshe has his shir in the Sfas Emes every Shabbos morning, which I really recommend everyone to show up to, if you can, at 8:30. And it's a phenomenal shir. It's always good to learn before you daven. So that's the Sfas Emes. The Sfas Emes was the grandson of the Chidush Harim. The Chidush Harim was a good buddy of the Mea Shiloach, of the Ishbitzer, of Reb Mendel of Kotzker. He was a student of Reb Simcha ben Pshilsta. And he was the head of the dynasty of Ger. So we're first going to see a piece from the Chidush Harim, and then we're going to see a similar piece with a little bit of a taste, small piece, from the Beis Yaakov, from the son of the Mea Shiloach. So if you could look inside, this is the first piece of the Chidush Harim on Parashat Va'era. And I bless us to get excited if we could see ourselves a little bit in today's piece. First, you're going to feel very, very, very depressed, okay? Then, when you catch yourself getting depressed, then say, wow, thank God I'm even aware of this, okay? Let's see what we can do. Ve'hotzeti etchem tachat sivlot Mitzrayim. What's the first language of the Geula? Ve'hotzeti. I'm going to take you out from beneath the sivlot Mitzrayim. We've learned this piece in the Reb Shlomo Shir on Monday nights, where he teaches it in English in his own magical way. Today we're going to see it inside. What does that mean? First of all, just on Pshat. Ve'hotzeti etchem tachat sivlot Mitzrayim. I will take you out from where? Underneath from what? The sivlot Mitzrayim. The suffering that Egypt has caused you. Nachon? So this is what the Ger Rebbe says. HaGeula Rishona hi ma shemema'asim et hagalut. He says, do you know what the first step of redemption is? Do you know when someone says, wow, nim'as li? What is he saying? When someone says nim'as?
I'm done with it.
I'm done with it. Nim'as means I'm sick and tired of this. So he says here's something amazing. The first step of Geula for a person is when he comes to the conclusion, to the realization, I'm sick and tired of this comfort zone. Now that's a very, very hard place to get to. Usually you're sick and tired of what? Of suffering. But he's saying over here, a person needs to be sick and tired of a comfort zone. Let me ask you a question. Is that a contradiction? Not at all. Why? Because so many of us get so accustomed to the suffering that that's our comfort zone. So we always think, if I'd be suffering, I would completely be repulsed by it and reject it. It's not true. The more accustomed you get to something, even if you're suffering, you'd rather the known than the unknown. And the known in our situation was, we were slaves, we were enslaved mentally as well, and we were suffering. But you know what? It was fine. Why was it fine? Why was it fine?
We were numb to it.
We're numb to it already. So were we sick of it? Not at all. We were fine. We could tolerate it.
It's actually more significant because people who are specifically abused need that abuse. They always seek out somebody who will abuse them. Or people who get kidnapped, they have this syndrome where they attack themselves, they kidnap them. So the worse it is, actually more. It's actually the trauma of being abused, which is
Right.
we were
Absolutely traumatized.
yeah.
Absolutely traumatized. So again, fear of change is petrifying. Hageula Rishona, the first level of Geula, the first stage of redemption, Hi Mashim Ma'asim et Galut, that you're okay with your status quo in life. And you know what? As Yidden here, forget America. Us here, that we're okay with the fact that last night there were 2 terrorists in 2 different attacks that tried to run over Yidden, and whatever. I mean, thank God no one was killed, but does that have anything to do with our tefillah this morning, even if we saw it in the news? Forget if we didn't see it in the news, Mela. But if we did see it in the news, we're just accustomed to, we're not sick of it yet. If we were sick and repulsed by it yet, we would start, Vayizaku vatal shavatam el Hashem. There would be some kind of a natural response we would have coming in from inside. But we've become so accustomed to it already, to certain levels of galus, that we're fine with it. Even though you would never admit it, that I'm fine with it. Chas v'chalila. But there's a level where we're fine with it. Okay. B'chol zman k'shesovlim et hagalut. Now here he explains what he's doing. Sovlim means to suffer, or it means to tolerate. Nachon? In Hebrew, ani lo sovel oto means I can't stand him. Or when you say, ani yachol lisbol et ze, means I could tolerate it. So he says over here, kol zman k'shesovlim et hagalut, אי אפשר להגאולה שתבוא. As long as you're willing to tolerate galus, it can be so bad, but don't think Mashiach's on his way, because you're okay. You're tolerating it. You've learned to cope. And therefore, your learning to cope doesn't push you to cry and scream to Hashem. You've developed every single defense mechanism that exists, which leads you to survival. However, it prevents you from a state of thriving, because you're just going to be okay, sheltered behind the defense mechanisms that you've developed for yourself in order to survive. And we have to realize that we need to become so much more vulnerable to that place that we usually put up shields and protect ourselves from. Because as long as you're tolerating it, Hashem says, you do your thing and I'll do my thing. Can't get you out of Egypt. You're okay there. You're in your fortress, but I can't get you out of there. And that's how the whole world of Pshischa, of the Chassidus of Pshischa, is understanding this concept of Sivlot Mitzrayim. Doesn't mean the sufferings of Egypt. It means your state of tolerating Egypt. Your state of tolerating Egypt. As long as you tolerate galus, Geula can't come. So therefore it means, I removed you from beneath the sivlot. I removed you from being able to tolerate Egypt. That's the first step of Geula. Perusho, I will remove from within you the will and the desire to tolerate your state of life in Egypt. And I will bring you to a state of mind where you're going to look at your own galus, and what are you going to say? Nim'asli. I'm sick of this. So he's saying over here, that's actually a stage of redemption. That you'll come to a place where you'll look, wherever you're at in your life, whatever place of galus you're in your life, and you'll say, I'm sick of this. That's a gift from Hashem. That's the first stage of redemption. Now, we said before, that means looking at your comfort zones and saying, I'm sick of this. That's a very, very hard place to get to on your own. But when you cry out to Hashem, like the Yidden did last Shabbos, and you say, we wish, what was the crying? It was more or less a state of crying to Hashem, saying, we wish we weren't okay with just continuing to live like this. We wish we weren't okay with being able to tolerate our own Mitzrayim. You know what kind of a tefillah that is? You know what kind of a deep tefillah it is? That you can stand before God and say, I wish I wasn't okay with all the small-minded narrowness, justified, legitimate excuses I have for not taking myself more deeper, more seriously, more besimcha. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of not being able to be done with it. Yeah.
Seems like, I mean,
Just a little bit louder. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
It's basically what he's saying. He's saying, which is interesting, is that Hashem will take you out from tolerating the stuff, or from tolerating what's happening in Mitzrayim. Right? That's the bill he's looking at.
Right.
So, but still, it's God doing it. You know?
But what came before? The tefillah, the cry. That's what we're saying. You're nachon. At the end, it's still Hashem doing it. But that's because we didn't even realize Galus is, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be davening for. That's Galus. I don't even know. It's not like I'm crying because things are so bad for me. That's already a state of somewhat clarity. Real exile is, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be crying for. So the Yidden in Mitzrayim, last Shabbos, that's what it was. Batal Shavatam El Hashem. They were crying from a place of, we're so stuck in whatever we think is our protectives, we don't even know what to cry for anymore. And I don't think anything has changed. I don't think anything has changed in the prat of Am Yisrael, the individual. Like, Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of good things going for us. We have a lot of weird things going for us. Some of us have some tzaras, some of us, I don't know. Maybe some of you have some tzaras in life, here and there, some confusions. We don't even know what we're supposed to be crying for. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, if you just cry about that, I'm going to take you out of being able to tolerate that place where you're okay with going about life the way things are. But at least put out that prayer that I don't even know what I'm supposed to be crying for, Hashem. That itself is a prayer. By the way, that statement is brought throughout Likutei Tefillas. Ibn Nassim says this throughout Likutei Tefillas. Open my mouth so I'll even have an idea as to what to even say. I don't even know what to say anymore. So that's...
The parallel to that is the B'Melech, who's in the old coach, he didn't like, I won't even open my mouth.
Right, very good.
Say anything wrong against you. So this is...
Nachon.
Maybe it's not by not using words per se to complain against God, but still it's almost it's the complaint almost but it should be.
Nachon.
On the other hand, the medical is like, no, I won't even open my mouth and complain about it. He says how terrible it is, and I won't even say anything about it.
Look, should we get really politically incorrect right now?
Sure.
Yeah? Everyone's cool with that?
I'm not comfortable.
You're not comfortable with being politically incorrect.
It's Trump that he used.
Huh?
No, that's Trump. You can say whatever you want.
It's an amazing concept we have right now. Like Hashem is preparing each and every one of us in our lives. Bifrat u bichlal, as a general level, nationally, whatever it is that he's asking you, are you okay with your own, like literally he's asking us, are you okay with your own guts? Are you okay with your own state of mind? Are you okay with it? We're not going to get politically incorrect because we're not going to get out of there. I'm not going there. Turn the page to the Beis Yaakov. I'm sorry. Turn the page to the Beis Yaakov. Now, the Ishbitzer now is going to take us the same concept of sevel, of this word sevel being not suffering, but tolerating. And we're going to see the way he beautifully says this too. You see where it says Chaf Aleph ve'hotzeti? Okay? In the second column in the middle. The same pasuk. Ve'hotzeti etchem mitachat sivlot Mitzrayim, ve'itzalti etchem ma'avodatam, ve'ga'alti etchem b'izra netuya. So here he's going through the Lashonot. What is it? I will take you out from beneath the suffering or the you being able to tolerate Egypt. Ve'itzalti etchem ma'avodatam. And then I'm going to save you from all the work you had to do for them. Ve'ga'alti etchem b'izra netuya. And I will redeem you with Ari, what's a zra netuya?
Outstretched
arm. Outstretched arm. So he says over here, what does the word sivlot mean? The Ishbitzer says, sivlot more al dvarim ktanim shenitba belibam hashiabud velo yirgishu bo. Sivlot means, when you suffer, the suffering that he's speaking about over here, the tolerating means dvarim ktanim, that you have become completely either shalem, complete with pettiness, that you're actually okay with just smallness in your life. Like Reb Shlomo once said, he came to a college campus and the Hillel on campus was so excited that they had an overflowing crowd of 11 people on a Sunday morning when they offered bagels and lox. They were so happy that they were able to get that. Meanwhile, he did his concert the night before, and he was, singing his heart out, and there were 400 kids there, from all, but the people that live that are on campus are okay with the fact that their success is about 11 people on a Sunday morning. What are you happy with? What kind of success are you happy with? So the Ishbitzer says here, Sivlot means that you've become obsessed with just being okay al dvarim ktanim, and you don't even realize it. What shenitba beliba mashiabud, that the enslavement was nitba, meaning that it became teva, it became nature in their heart, velo hirgishu bo, and they didn't even feel it. That they're okay with such a small-mindedness in the world, and they didn't even feel it. So here I'm going to go back to what I said I wasn't going to go to before, but we're going to go there. We all travel all the time, all over the world. We see different communities, see different people. We meet the most beautiful people in the world. But sometimes you see people's concept of success, of spiritual success. You see people's concept of a national ideology being something that's successful, and you're wondering, like, are we part of the same people? Because your concept of I wouldn't say success, but your concept of growth and my concept of growth are completely different. Your concept of a spiritual enlightenment and mine are very, very different. This last Shabbos, from the Amud, I had to say the words, V'tolichenu mehera, what's the words from the Avinu Shebashamayim? Well, that we say in the Ahava Rabbah. I'm saying there are certain words. Oh. No, sorry, from the Musaf. It says, Yetzam lefanecha Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Avim, sheta'aleinu besimcha le'artzeinu v'tita'einu b'gvuleinu. That you should send us on planes back home very fast and plant us in our gvulot, in our borders, right? So for some people, it's okay to just say that with a lot of kavanah. But that means you're still able to tolerate where you're at. That tefillah doesn't have a lot to do with where you're at in life. You don't even feel it. Lo hirgishu bo. You don't even feel it. It's nitba belibam. The teva of being far from the words you're saying is nitba belibchem. It becomes nature. It becomes something natural in your heart. You're okay with having a tremendous distance from the words that you're saying in tefillah. But forget about Galus. Okay? We just said this morning, we're okay with that just being words. We're okay with that. Dvarim ktanim, zikvar davar katan. Why? Because we don't even feel how much we've been enslaved up here to think that's not for now, that's not for us to worry about. So it's on every single level you see this pattern of living in a state of exile in your mind. Every single level in life. But as long as there's a distance between what you're saying and what you really think is possible, that means that you're okay with the Egypt that you've provided for yourself to live in. Dvarim ktanim. These things become smallness to you. Why? Because you've been enslaved mentally, and this has become nitba belibchem. V'lo hirgishu bo. So he says that's the first level of galus, of coming out of galus. Second level, veitzalti etchem me'avodatam. I will save them from their work. Avodahi she'adam margishi ibudo. Now he's saying that physical labor that you guys felt, and that you feel how hard it is, I'll take you out of there too. But guess what? That's only the second level. Because if I don't take you out of the first state, then taking you out of physical labor doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It just means you're not enslaved to that, but you're just ready to be enslaved to the next thing. So it doesn't even matter if I take you out of the second shlav, if I don't take you out of the first shlav. It doesn't matter. Vega'alti etchem, and I will redeem you. Hainu, geula comes from what? Mimakom amok, she'ayu kfufim tachtea. I will redeem you out of a place, this deep place, that you were kafuf. How do you say kafuf in English? Sorry? No, subordinate, that's the word. Yeah, bent over, that you were completely shakua, you were completely sunk into. I'm going to take you out of that whole place.
This kind of answers like why Hashem had to like up the pressure cooker on B'nai Israel.
How?
Well, I mean, well, first is the whole thing with the children, but it seems like life is okay. I mean, it's pretty bad, and they believe that Hashem's gonna, save them, but it's not like kotze ruach until with the next stage where they have to get their own bricks, and then they can't even hear anymore because they're just so katzal.
Nachon.
And
Kotze ruach. Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. I mean, bring yourself to kotze ruach to the point where you're like, I can't. Another moment of this, I can't tolerate.
Right.
And I'm so overwhelmed that I can't even hear the words coming out of your mouth right now.
Right. But that overwhelmness that we had in Mitzrayim was, I got it, my quota is not done for the day.
Yeah.
That's the other side of being overwhelmed. That's not the overwhelmness that we're trying to reach.
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed by the fact that I can't even cry to you. That doesn't overwhelm me as much as I got an Egyptian standing with a whip over my back. My wife just gave birth and they took my child and put it into a wall. There was no room for anything. There was no room to even breathe and realize, wait a second.
If you take a step back, why do you need all? I mean, we're so big on doing things from positivity, not negativity today. I mean, we've got this. There's this whole thing about drawing in positive energy,
Right.
and using them, growing through positive energy. I mean, if when you're kind of reading it in the text, it seems all logical. But if you take a step back and you think, my word, I mean, why do we have to have something so brutal as what happened with the children? Why couldn't we? I mean, we came from a place of the Avot, like a parsha ago.
Right.
There were 2 parshas ago. We were sitting with the Shvatim. These guys were actually unbelievably strong. I mean,
Right.
they were. If you really learn about it, why couldn't we work out of that positivity? What was that? Why do you need this to grow out of these boundaries?
Do you think that we had a chance to not come out of, do you think that it was possible to not be in this state of mind?
You learn certain things about the Shvatim, about how amazing and how you almost think, well, wow, we try to get back to that all the time, even now.
Nachon.
I mean, the 70 souls were like, if you saw that, it's like,
The main difference between what was going on then and our work now is that back then, did we do anything really, really strong to work on ourselves to be redeemed? Not really. It was just going to be one more step of impurity and we would have been done.
at the 70 souls level?
No, at this parsha. Huh? Now, over here. At the 70 souls level? No, that was okay. But I'm saying the more we got down deeper into Egypt, the more we were away from that. The Torah says to us, "Vayamot Yosef v'chol echa v'chol adorahu," that whole generation was completely removed. So what ended up happening? There was no room to breathe anymore. There was no room to think anymore. There was just survival. There was just survival mode.
That this was
Yes.
again.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, now imagine if instead of the stick, we'd grown out of the 70. If the nation of Israel had grown out of the positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is, if you go back objectively, we're sitting here, as you said, it is depressing. We're sitting here thinking the nation of Israel had to drop down to get good. But if you go back a little bit, we were actually in a position where guys were unbelievable. I mean, really unbelievable. Why couldn't we grow out of that positive energy?
That what you said before, there was God's design. When God made the bris with Avram Avinu, right? The story of what was going to happen, what happened over here, was already told to him over there.
Right.
So, but I want to take chizuk from what you're saying. That's not our situation today. It could be, but it's not.
I mean, 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, but today, no.
Well, we learned from each one.
60 years ago, yes. 70 years ago, yes. Today, no. You think it's today?
Mm-hmm.
You think it is today? No, not. Meaning 70 years ago, yeah, I don't have room to breathe. I got to make sure that a German doesn't blow my brains.
Yeah,
That,
90 years ago, it wasn't like that. It was back and forth.
but all I have is right now. All I have to deal with is the world that Hashem put me in today. And the world that Hashem put me in today allows me the breathing room to come to the conclusion that I'm sick of being in exile. Now, that gift that it's given to me today, the opportunity to work on myself today, it's true. My grandmother didn't have it when she jumped off the train on the way to Auschwitz. Now, what's interesting is that some days here I don't really have that, because how many times last year would we see ambulances on the 60 on the road over here, because there's some wacky human being animal running around with a knife trying to stab me in my back. So I don't always have those moments to breathe and say, just like, how much am I okay with the state of but we do have that luxury right now. In fact, I hope that's what we're busy doing here while we're learning Torah. Not just learning words, but always working on ourselves from a place of positivity, which I agree with you, Brandon, from a strong place to come to decisions in terms of taking myself and my life and my destiny in a much more serious and beautiful way.
But it's also, I think we're always trying to oversimplify things that are complex. Like when we're reading Torah, there's no like moment where like this is the moment, because then this is the moment. And there are times where we're moments of like 70 schools. There are times where we're in the moment of just just discovering this whole oneness. And then there are times when we're in Mitzrayim, and even I'm sure even 7 years ago there were moments that were more Mitzrayim-like, and there were moments that were more rejoicing. Obviously, the reality of the Holocaust was what it was.
That's right.
But we're looking at this like we're going through this at this time of year, because this is the time of year we're supposed to be awakening towards it. And again, in Pesach, to be awakening to this, the fact that like, where did we not notice it? It's like, how do you cook a frog, right? Without you put him in cold water and you slowly heat it up. And we're trying to acknowledge what things have we not paid attention to that have led us to this flow.
You know that the Rebbes, the Hasidic Rebbes, would take the Haggadah, Parshiot Va'era and Bo, and sit with it and read through the Haggadah on these Parshiot, Va'era and Bo. Because even though we're not celebrating Pesach, the tzaddikim say that when you read about a certain holiday during the Parshiot, during the year, so the Kedusha of the holiday kind of comes out and takes a peek. Even though it's not Pesach right now, but we're reading the story of Pesach. So yeah, in a few months we're going to be cleaning out our chametz and feeling redemptive and everything. But it'd be a great thing to not keep that work for just then, because cleaning out your chametz is a really big deal. It's a big thing. Suddenly you see people the last 3 days before Pesach, they're cleaning, not obviously. Today no one cares about crumbs anymore, because we became such spiritual seekers and we're all worried about cleaning out the chametz of our heart, as if we have any idea what that means, right? But, now is an opportunity to kind of get a jump start on how much do I really want to be redeemed Pesach night. All right, let's finish this piece. V'zeu shene'emar bizra netuya, fourth line from the bottom. V'zeu shene'emar achar kach ve'lakachti etchem li la'am. And the last level of redemption is, and then I took you to be a people for me. Ve'lakachti etchem li la'am. That's the last language of the Geula. Hainu. שהקדוש ברוך הוא יראה, not יראה, יראה. God will show. כי לא היה שום נפש מישראל תחת שום עול, רק תחת עול השם יתברך. A redeemed person is someone who will be able to look back at any enslavement he ever went through, and any imprisonment he ever went to. And he'll be able to see that it was never really an Egyptian standing him over with a whip that was the one that was enslaving him, but that was part of Hashem's design as well. My servants are not, like Rabbi was saying, they will say, we will be able to say, we were really always Hashem's servants. Avadayim, they are my servants. And will be that's the real redemption will be. Not just when we were taken out of situations of feeling enslaved, but that retroactively I'll be able to also look back at anything I ever went through and realize you put me there for a certain reason. And you know what happens when you're able to look back at anything you ever went through and say you put me there for a certain reason and really it was always you? I don't have any tainas on Hashem anymore like that. I don't have anything in my arsenal. I'm not holding anything in my back pocket saying that if God ever does something to me, I'll always say, but look what happened to me. How could you do this to me? You're out of that world of holding on to tainas, holding on to claims against Hashem. But the final level of Geula, like he's saying over here, is where Hashem will say, I'm going to take you, you're going to be mine, and then I'm going to show you, you were always mine. You were always mine. I just had to put you through what you had to go through in order to bring out the strongest person that could have ever existed. Your highest, greatest potential, exceeding your potential, by putting you through what you had to go through. See, this is real emunah. This is what it means to taste geula within hardship. That you're going through something very difficult in life, but while you're going through it, imagine you keep on saying to yourself, or feeling, I know that this seems on the level of illusion, it looks like this person's enslaving me, but really I'm a Yid and I have emunah, and I know that this is really Hashem. This is really Hashem doing this. And therefore I need to remind myself that eventually, one day, what's going to be, Hashem will show me that it was always Him doing it. So why don't I just jump already now to that state of mind that I'm going to be in when I'm redeemed, and already act like that now and ask Hashem, what are you trying to tell me right now? And that's how you bring Geula into your life right now in the moment. Because eventually that's what's going to be anyway, that state of clarity.
This is similar to the Torah where Vayigash Elav Yudah.
Right. That Yehuda then sees, oh my God, it wasn't an evil king over me.
Right.
It was my brother. Right?
And Vayigash Elav, it was towards Hashem. Not
Right. Very good. Nachon me'od. Nachon me'od. And Yehuda is the master of Geula. He's the father of Mashiach. He brings that into the world. But can you imagine if that's the level of consciousness that we were operating on? That while we're going through what we're going through, we're saying, that menuvel, that guy calls himself a Jew, that guy wears a kippah. Someone called me last night. Someone called me last night. They have 2 nights ago, they have a horrible machlokus with someone else in their community. They wanted a pshara, this and that. And they kept on saying, I can't believe that person has the chutzpah to wear a yarmulke. Right? I've heard that concept many times. Right? I can't believe that person holds himself to be a fruma yid, right? They think they are. Now, that might be true, but that has nothing to do with you. That's their own trip that they need to figure out, right? But our trip, that while we're going through these disputes, is really asking, Hashem, what are you trying to tell me? I'm yours. I'm not theirs. I'm not going to be enslaved to this. So the Ishbitzer says over here, Aleph, if you're ready to stop tolerating Egypt, if you're ready to stop tolerating the small places you're in, and your small concepts of success, and if you're able to let Hashem take you out of those small places, and you let Hashem redeem you from that whole mindset, then Hashem says, then it means you're ready to be shown that you were never, ever, ever enslaved to anybody else. And that's the ultimate geula that you and I are truly waiting for. That we could actually look back in our lives at every single moment and see it was just opportunities for me to become the most developed individual, the most strong, confident, holiest individual that I'm able to become. Let's not wait till that happens eventually. To be messianic, let's be like a real Meshichistim right now. Don't get freaked out, Brandon. Real Meshichistim, real Messianic Jews. Not the way the world calls Messianic, but the way Ishbitzer Messianic means that I'm already living right now in a state of mind that I know that you're going to show me how this illusion isn't real. But please, while I'm going through this illusion, please show me how to get out of being able to tolerate such small-mindedness. And alavai, we should be so sick and tired of the little mitzrayim that we detect in our lives, and have enough koyach to scream out to Hashem and say, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be crying for, but I know that my neshama wants to cry. So please let me start crying. And Be'ez Hashem, that will bring the geula so much more closer and faster. Shkach, everyone.